Blog Talk Radio.
Dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight to land on the line.
Hey, what up, boxing fans? This is the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live on a Tuesday late afternoon. Hope everybody's doing okay. I'm trying to get this one in before the Lakers-Suns game. Shoot, I accidentally hit the wrong thing there. But yeah, I'm trying to get this puppy in so you don't have to choose which one. Maybe you can start listening to it at halftime or whatever. But anyway, we are back, and we got a whole lot to talk about. We'll have just one long segment. The whole show is going to be on Floyd Mayweather. Okay, I'll stop. I mean, I even put it in the title. Buy or boycott. Boycott. Why did I say that weird? Boycott or buy. Hard pass. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about from the weekend. Nonito Donaire turned back the clock, but man, we're going to have to start saying something different with him at 118 now. This isn't turning back the clock. This isn't vintage. Well, it is vintage, Nonito. The power is back at 118, clearly. In this fight anyway, the size advantage, you didn't see that as much against Inoue, but then again, look what his power did to him. So Donaire gets it done, knocks out Ubali, who had a pretty good start to the fight. Donaire wasn't just looking for a counter and that's it. Wasn't just on the move looking for Ubali to come in and counter. He actually was pushing the fight to him at times. He was standing his ground. Man, that left hook, dude. I mean, come on. That left hook is a thing of beauty. I know it's like a broken record. A lot of people saying that, but it's just so short and tight, and explosive. I mean, it's just, you're on the ground. It's crazy, dude. But, I picked Ubali. I did put a little money on Donaire. That's the thing. It's funny, the last few weeks, these underdogs, beyond Ramirez, obviously, but 2 out of the last 3 weeks, the underdogs, Figueroa was like a full-on underdog. That was almost a 3-1. But man, wow. And then of course, so we'll recap that. We'll start with that. The Showtime card once again delivers. The last few cards have delivered majorly, especially the last 2. But even that one topped by Ennis and Lipinets was interesting as well. I thought in some good fights on paper. Some of them were one-sided in the ring, but hey, that's what happens. Speaking of one-sided, Gary Antoine Russell in a one-sided victory knockout over Santiago, who we had just seen push Broner. And then Matias gets it done in a violent fashion. Let's just put it that way. I hate to use that terminology if you look at his track record. Not his track record like it's his fault, but, the dude's vicious, and I don't mean that in bad ways. I mean that in positive ways if you can take it that way. So we'll talk about the Showtime card first. Showtime is delivering this year. Yes, 2019 for them sucked. It really reminded us of 2015, the first year of the PBC. But they're back in business. Let's put it that way. I know now people don't like Jake Paul. They liked him on Triller, but they don't like him on Showtime anymore. And I know Kevin Aioli thinks it's, the network's not for hardcores anymore. It's for YouTubers. But they have the best schedule. The PBC in the second quarter has been on fire, and good luck catching him on the third quarter. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, DAZN had the best first quarter, clearly. March was awesome. We talked about last year how clearly Top Rank closed the strongest. But, man, PBC is on fire, no doubt about it. Speaking, I mentioned DAZN in the first quarter. And, March is generally not that busy of a month because of basketball, college basketball. But DAZN hooked us up, in March, no doubt. But Devin Haney was just kind of walking in the park, going for a stroll, and ran into the big bad wolf in Jorge Linares. Okay, that was a weird way to put it. But Linares too. I don't know why I said it that way. But Linares, I'm on too much caffeine. I think that's what it is. Linares, though, catches him with the shot at the end of the round. I think it was the 10th round. And Haney's legs were in bad shape. He tried to play it off. We're going to talk about, does he need to fully change the corner? If Davidson is your main trainer, then maybe he should be your main trainer in the corner too while the fight's going on, not just Bill. But anyway, I'll give credit. Haney did get out of the mess. There's things that I really liked about him offensively. Defensively, I can't call him elite because of his defense right now. And it's not just getting hit in the 10th round. He was getting countered with the same punch. It's one thing to get hit hard and get hurt. It's one thing, to be just, buzzed, whatever. Your legs are gone for a round. Okay, no big deal. I thought, I don't mind clinching or taking a knee when you're really hurt. I think it's very smart. And a lot of times when guys don't and they end up getting knocked out, that's the first thing people will say. Why didn't you take a knee, or why didn't you hold? Of course, we love fighters that slug it out when they get hurt, and some are able to turn the tide. And that comes down to levels, too. Sometimes you're in there with a guy, whether it's a tune-up, whether it's on the way up, and he's just not on your level, and you're more mad and embarrassed that he hit you and hurt you, that you're going to go back at him and finish him. Not everybody can be Diego Corrales, right? That's tough. But the biggest thing about Haney for me was the longevity in how long he went with the clinch. We could talk about, how do you finish when you have a big lead, being on the move and jabbing and pot shotting and then moving. I'm not saying I love it as a fan, but I get it from a fighter's perspective. Once again, that goes back to if you get caught with a punch, you're going to get a bunch of shit. Well, I would rather see the Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia rounds to close than what we saw with Devin Haney because, like I said, when you're hurt, clinching and holding, I get it, 100%. But he looked like he had recovered enough not to do that over and over. I mean, it's one thing if a guy's trying to attack you because he sees you're hurt, right? You let's say you're on the rope, and then you bear hug him, right? Because he's up close to you. You don't want to have him. You don't want to be, on target. Or just a target, I should say. That's different. But he was out there being the aggressor with the hug and hold in the clinch. Like literally go forward, clinch, duck down, clinch, and then wait for the ref to knock you, to break you up, and then do this. It was just rinse and repeat. And that's where it was like, really, dude? So you haven't recouped, which kind of tells me something about your recoup skills, right? Potentially. Or that's the way you've been trained to do it, or that was your first instinct. Down the stretch of that fight, that threw me off. That reminded me, and Carl Froch was a much fresher fighter than Linares, and a more accomplished fighter than Linares. No matter how skillful we think offensively Linares is, clearly in his top-level fights, he hasn't proven that he can get over the hump. That's just a fact. And I know he was a lineal champion, but that lineal championship came with a fight against Anthony Crolla, or how the UK would say it, Anthony Crolla. That's cool. I like Crolla. But, he's not somebody you fight for a lineal and be like, oh, dude, I'm going to the Hall of Fame. But I'm a little worried about that part. I love how he went to the body. I love his jab. His jab is phenomenal. His footwork can be hit or miss, you know. But overall, I'm really interested to see the next few fights and what he takes from this. Because you do have to go through something like this as a fighter. We all know that. And I'm really intrigued where he goes from here. So we're going to talk about the weekend. I'll be honest with you. An 8-round exhibition on pay-per-view doesn't do it for me. You know, Mayweather-Logan is a different fight than two old men in Tyson and Roy Jones or Jake Paul and whoever he fights. Now, I'll say this. The Tyron Woodley, it does interest me more than all these other opponents he's had. So I give him credit for that. By the way, if you don't know, Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, sometime in August. They said August 28th, but I'm not sure if they're going to go right the weekend right behind Spence Pacquiao. I know it's a different crowd, but still, I'm not sure about that. Anyway, kudos to Jake Paul. Give him credit there. Tyron Woodley is a guy that talked a bunch of stuff. A lot of people were saying there's no way you'd fight him, and he's fighting him. So I'll give him credit there. But Logan Paul, KSI, whatever. Like I said, I know the difference between Mayweather and Logan. I get it. It's not like two 50-year-olds fighting, right? I get that part. But to me, I chalk it up as all exhibitions. And exhibitions on pay-per-view and not on basic cable or a streaming site or whatever. You know, I'm just not a big fan of paying for it. You know, that's it. It is what it is. It's okay. I'm not hating on it. I'm not saying let's sign a petition so we can ban this stuff. A lot of people are saying Mayweather's ruining his career now. And it's like, no, this doesn't take away his legacy at all. And maybe people just don't realize celebrity boxing used to be on network TV. People watch celebrities do a lot of different shit. Sing, dance, fight, like, didn't Lamar Odom just fight somebody? Like that, who was it? It was some kind of boy band type dude. Oh, thank you. Aaron Carter. Yup, that guy. That part. So, yeah, whatever. We're not going to go deep into it. I'll say this, though. There are about 8 to 10 that I will read because some of these prop bets are actually worth kind of betting on in a sense. Not betting on the fight, but some is like the mouth guard. Whose mouth guard is going to get knocked out? Who's going to visit the hospital? Like, I will go through those odds. That's going to be our preview of this fight. Because let's face it, if Logan Paul beats Mayweather, the shit was fixed. And they're just trying to, now he's going to take it serious. I didn't have a camp. So now, I don't know. Could you talk Floyd into losing? I don't know about that. To me, I'm going to say my gut says, hell no, you couldn't. Because Floyd doesn't want to be embarrassed like that. Talk about, he was embarrassed. Look how he reacted when his hat got taken. Anyway, the only good fight on that, like good fight, was Jean Pascal and Badu Jack. And Jean Pascal tested positive for not 1, not 2, but yes, 3. That's right. 1, 2, 3 banned substances. And, of course, he's blaming his trainer. I would never do such a thing. I'm blaming my trainer, even though it did look about 4 or 5 years ago that you were done. Who was it? Was it a guy named Rod? Oh, no, Gonzalez. In that fight with Gonzalez, in those Kovalev fights, it was like, don't get me wrong, the Kovalev fight, he did land some good punches in the first one especially, right? Because there was 2 of them, right? And it was like, boy, I don't know, but that Gonzalez fight to me was like, ooh, dude, yeah, you're done. But I got to give him credit because the guy made a comeback. Now it does make you go, was that a comeback? He didn't really win much rounds against Bivol, but he went 12 rounds with him. That's not crazy because Bivol doesn't have a lot of power. But Brown, the first Badu Jack fight. Anyway, what will Devin Haney do next? What are the odds that he'd actually take on Tiafimo? Would it be on ESPN? Would DAZN, I'll read some comments from Eddie Hearn talking about, hey, dude, we'll give you more money. Don't worry about that. And maybe, just maybe, Bob would be like, I'll take the 20% of that, like he just is doing now. So, yeah, there is some other fight news. We'll do a little boxing Twitter segment. But, yeah, before we get into this, if this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, welcome. It streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It streams live, it archives, all that good stuff on Blog Talk, right? But you don't have to download the show directly there if you don't want to, or listen to the browser. Some people still do that. That's cool. You can find the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, which, you know, we're knee-deep into NBA playoffs too, by the way. But you can find the platform on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which just added a new boxing show, D-Style Boxing. A lot of you guys know him. In general, it matters how long you've listened to the show. He definitely was a strong member of Rope-A-Dope back in the day. So shouts out to D-Style for joining the network. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. It's boxing, football, basketball, baseball, everything in between. And one more thing, if you're thinking about cutting the cord or you're not quite happy, I got something for you. It's called AT&T TV. The plans start as low as $69.99 a month. Simple pricing, no hidden fees, no annual contract. You can stream it anywhere on any device. The cloud DVR is available, and if you sign up for the choice package and above, you get a free year of HBO Max. That's AT&T TV. Wow, I said that kind of strange, didn't I? Anywho, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully I'll just say it. I'm choosing to take a hard pass on Mayweather Logan Paul. I've said that from the start. I've been consistent with all these exhibitions on pay-per-view. It's not my cup of tea. I've, seen lots of different fights. I've YouTubed some old exhibitions back in the day. Watched Muhammad Ali do, exhibitions, like I said, celebrity boxing, Butterbean. Like, it's just not for me. No offense. Some people are huge Jake Paul fans, some or whatever, the Paul brothers. Some are Mayweather fans. They just want to see him. Some younger people just want to see if their favorite dude, Logan Paul, can actually use his 30-pound weight advantage or whatever. I don't know. It's just not for me. So I am choosing to say no. I'm boycotting this puppy, okay? What I'm not boycotting is the last chunk of Nonito Donaire's career. My freaking goodness. This guy. And like I said, vintage Donaire, the left hook, he was throwing the right hand a lot. At 118, it's just a different fucking story, dude. It's just a different story. And this is something I learned in wrestling. Your mental capability, right? You can, as long as you fool your mind, your body will take a lot longer to deplete and fail on you than you think. Now, I'm not talking just about in the championship rounds when both fighters are tired and hurt, and if you can will your way through that, your body's going to respond. At some point, of course, your body finally says, nope. We see that like at weigh-ins when someone's shaking on the scale and stuff like that, or in the last 30 minutes, an hour trying to run stuff off, trying to do jumping jacks and push-ups and sit-ups and mountain climbers and the sauna and shit like that. And it just, your body says, nah, dude, I don't have any more. I'm depleted. That's different. But the mental state and the time off to heal physically, there's not many guys that can do this. We talked about Pacquiao when I broke down Pacquiao-Spence and how 2 years to Pacquiao is not as bad as it would be to other Mayweather-Pacquiao. Well, Donaire's fitting right in that, dude. And maybe all the while 122 and 126, it changed his style so much and he had to be so careful that we just, I don't know. It's like right now he's fighting more strategic than he did at times in his prime. But either way, let's get into it. Ubali, the first round was close. I think the first round was close. There wasn't a bunch of clean shots. I nicked it to Ubali, but not, Ubali didn't win the round cleanly, in my opinion anyway. The counter with the right hand won the second round for me, but it was competitive. You could see Ubali was getting a little bit more comfortable. He was fainting. He was starting to get in there, and then, well, we know what happened. I mean, in that third round, though, about 2 minutes of it, I marked it down in my notes that I did think that he was winning that round. So you could have had him up after 2 minutes, 2-1 in a sense. Obviously, the round's not over. And there was a left hook to the body, then a right hand, then a left hook. And the left hook score just perfectly knocked him down. Like, short, like I was saying earlier, short, explosive, nasty. Real nasty. I mean, that shit is just, you're on the ground. I can't get over, how, I don't know, dude. There's just something about that left hook, dude. But, he got up, Ubali, more left hooks, of course, and then another left hook. And actually, Ubali did land something back in there. I think it was a nice left hand, too. But it, the second left hook that dropped him, it was after the bell, but it wasn't egregious. You know what I mean? Like, was he already throwing it, then the bell rang? I don't think so. But especially with a guy that fast and with that short of a punch, it's not even like it has to be starting, already. It's literally in the moment. So you're not going to be able to take it back once your mind says, okay, throw it. So I don't know if it was like ring, boom. You know what I mean? I think it was like ding, and then he threw it. So I wouldn't call that late, like after the bell. Of course, it landed after the bell, but I think that was all one motion. I don't think he timed it at the bell. I don't know if he could have held it back, is my point. And when Ubali went down, he went down really, really bad, dude. He was really, really hurt. He didn't know, should I go over here? Am I going over here? Where are we going? I'm fine, but where are we going? It was bad, dude. It was bad. There was some good exchanges early in the fourth, and then a combination. It started actually with a right to the body, left hook, right hand, left hook, good night. All over. Donaire gets it done. The punch bowl, is that what we're calling it? The sad thing is that's one of his best lines. That's literally one of his original lines where you're like, okay, that's an original line, but it still is cheesy. But the War Grounds, we call it the Home Depot, the StubHub, the Dignity. The War Grounds do it for me, and they were pumped about it. They were pumped about this fight, dude, and the outcome, obviously. And yeah, man, I was excited. Like I said, I'll fully say that I picked. Actually, someone just messaged me saying you've had a string of bad picks in a row. And hey, when you got to pick every week of the year, you do get these 2 or 3 in a row time frames. But hey, like I said, I haven't lost any money. 2 out of the 3 I won. I barely, like when I win like $15 or something or 20, like I covered my bet with the Ramirez underdog. I did cover it, but I was nervous because I ended up going with now that I think about it, I didn't talk about this last week. I ended up going with what I originally planned. I ended up going with the distance. But when Ramirez went down those 2 times, it's like, oh, shit, I should have picked the KO, But, yeah, I have gotten a couple wrong, I'll fully admit. But I knew they were tight, fights. That's why I put money. Didn't really – I basically broke, a little even. It was even. It was a little above even, but not much to talk about 2 weeks ago. But I did win money again. So, yes, the picks, sure. I'll be the first to say that I've gotten some picks wrong lately. It happens. But, man, when you're making money off of it, it's not like I'm saying they're going to go and knock the other guy out, you know what I mean, like left and right, easy, But Donaire, dude, he talks about, I want the rematch with Inoue, but I also just want to be undisputed. And we've had this stretch now of undisputed fights and potential undisputed fights coming up. Charlo Castaño, if we can get, we just had, one, I was just mentioning it with Taylor and Ramirez. If we can get Plant in Canelo, hopefully at some point the heavyweight division, hopefully at some point the welterweight division. I mean, it's on and popping. Obviously, lightweight last year, so. And he has some fighters he can fight in the PBC realm. But hopefully, if he gets the rematch with Inoue, cool. I didn't think it was a super tight fight. I just thought it was exciting. And he had superseded what we thought coming in. And you wondered, did that fight take something out of him? Could he, like I mentioned last week, could he summon the strength and give us another performance? And, maybe if it was only 5 or 6 months later, maybe he wouldn't have. But he did say how this rest, as long as you're focused during your rest and you're doing the right things with your body, it can help you. Not when you're older, it usually doesn't. But there are some special guys, and Nonito Donaire, one of them. And, there has been this little realm of people that don't think Nonito Donaire, this is boxing Twitter, that they don't think Nonito Donaire was a Hall of Famer before this fight. And it's like, I'm not saying he is now the best 118-pounder and stuff like that. Hey, I want to see him fight the winner of Rigo and Casamora too. Casamora. And honestly, that, now when you look at it, that Rigo victory just means that much more, you know what I mean? Because that wasn't at 126. But anyway, it is funny to see both Rigo and him at 118 now. But anyway, yeah, I would love to see him against the winner of that. I mean, there's several fights for him, so we'll see. I'm not going to sit there and break down, an opponent just yet because we got to see where he goes. But wonderful performance, dude. I mean, that was awesome. Gary Antoine Russell, 14-0, 14 KOs, taking on Santiago, right? Who obviously we just saw with Broner. And I mean, Santiago didn't win a round. Really, I'm looking at my scorecard right now. Was there a round that he won? I don't think so. Russell, it was a good pace early just in general. Russell clearly, landed the better shots, body and head shots, and he would do this little step aside. Don't get me wrong, Santiago would land a few decent shots here and there. There was the fourth round, a right hook that knocked him down 20, 30 seconds into round 4. The jab left hand, the little subtle footwork that, with the steady jab, how he was turning them, how he's pivoting, and then the thudding shots with both hands too. And it was just rinse and repeat, like I said earlier, just more heavy shots, would kind of start with the left hand of the body, and then take the left hand up top, or he would go uppercut left hand, because I remember left hook, because I remember them talking about. I think Al talked about that, how that's what Tyson used to use. But yeah, the 7th round, couldn't answer the bell. Really great decision there. Santiago's a tough dude, but he was getting beat up, and there's really no reason to take more punishment. So Russell, and this is when I start to go, okay, this is a real deal prospect here. Now moving forward, let's see how he develops. Some guys get so excited about a guy who's 4-0 fighting nobody, and that's okay. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here saying in your 4th fight you have to be, super tested. That's not what I'm saying. It just, people get lost so much into some of these prospects that they don't. It's like, did you see that knockout there? I was like, yeah, but who was he fighting? I can't get that excited for that, And so I watched some amateur stuff, not a lot though. I'll be the first to admit it, because I cover pro boxing, so that stuff can skew your mind a little bit if you're too high on a guy coming out. And just like I'm saying, when they they're fighting no-hopers in their fourth fight, and the more experienced guys don't do that as much now, but still, in your fourth fight, it's not like you're always going to take on a big challenge, right? Or even in your eighth or ninth fight, for that matter. But once you beat a guy, and I'm not saying, he's ready for a title right now, let's just put him in because he destroyed Santiago. Well, maybe he is ready for a title, but now he's on my radar fully. And I was very impressed from what I saw. He definitely has a whole lot of dog, and I'm trying to get you out, but he's got his head off center. He's moving his head. Like I said, the subtle little footwork. He's trying to get you out. He's trying to beat you up. He's trying to knock you down. But he does have that little subtle techniques in there that is going to make him very dangerous. So we'll see where Gary Antoine Russell goes. But 14-0 with 14 KOs. And he basically treated Santiago, who's a good fighter. I'm not trying to say he's a top 8 guy in the world at the weight class, but this was a great performance. And you love it when a young guy gets a spot on a triple header, right? Or even maybe gets a spot as the opener on ESPN or Fox or whatever. And they take it full advantage of it. That's what we saw out of Antoine Russell. So what do we got? Matias. How could I even ask what we got? Matias and Jukumbayev. Now, Jukumbayev was one of those, is it Eastern European? Where is he from? But I've been hearing about this guy for the last few years, and especially the last year and change and going into this fight. And there were a fair amount of people that I somewhat trust with their picks, or just their knowledge of the sport and what they've said about this fighter, and then you see what they turn into. And obviously his amateur pedigree, Jukumbayev, obviously it's there, right? He's got a lot of fights and a lot of wins. So he comes with that pedigree, of course. But this is the pros, and Matias is just trying to hurt you, dude. You know what I mean? That's what he's trying to do. I know I just said that with Russell Jr., but the way he fights, and don't get me wrong, I gave Jukumbayev the first round. I thought the uppercut and the hooks inside, even though Matias closed stronger in that first round, I gave him that round. The better shots, even though there was several back and forth moments in the second, I gave to Matias. Third round was a great action round, back and forth, no doubt. That could have been a swing round. And then 70 seconds into the fourth round, a right-left combo knocked him down. Now, credit to Jukumbayev because he got up. And then in the fifth round, although you could say the second half or maybe the last minute or so, maybe Matias closed stronger in that round, but the hard hooks and straight left hands, after being just knocked down, I was pretty impressed by Jukumbayev. I was like, okay, here we go. But the pressure and the constant pressure by Matias, they just kept coming, dude. And then he started really unloading with some hard shots in the seventh round. Stumbled him. He started landing, but then Jukumbayev actually stumbled. I forgot about that. Did he steal that seventh round? I totally forgot about that part. He could have stole that round just with that stumble in the last, 30 seconds, 20 seconds. But then he went back on his body work in the eighth round. Like I said, adding more of that thudding shots, pressure, more. And it was a TKO corner / doctor stoppage. I don't really know. The doctor, as we know, can't stop the fight. But he can advise a ref to, and then the ref can But I still think it was kind of a corner. But either way, Matias comes out on top of a pretty intense fight. And I'm not calling it the best fight of the year, but it's up there. It is up there. Every year I kind of compile a list of quality fights, right? Top 5, top 10, top 20 fights, whatever. And I definitely wrote that one down, because I think it's worthy. So Matias, bounces back after taking an L, grinding his way. It sounds like his management wants to wait for like a secondary mandatory type spot, which I think makes sense, especially at that weight class. But Matias is he's fun to watch, dude. He's fun to watch, man. And we'll see where Jukumbayev goes from here. He showed some heart to me. Like I said, he got knocked down. For me, won the next round. And then, like I said, he literally stumbled him. And maybe that was kind of an off balance, just caught him or whatever. Maybe if I watched that round again, I wouldn't have scored it for Jukumbayev off that one, hard punch. But that was a fun fight, dude. That was a fun fight. So overall, Showtime once again delivers. It's like 3 cards in a row. And boxing is weird like that, For like 2019 was a really mediocre to a really poor year for ESPN. Now, some of the stuff on ESPN Plus was really good, of course. But overall, it wasn't that good, man. A lot of stay busy, crappy fights. Navarrete against nobody. Angeos against nobody. Like, there's a lot of just, right? The summer series, it was on, and we watched it. But, there's only a handful of good fights in there. Otherwise, there was it was like club level at max, some of it, right? But then they closed really, really strong. And they had the best close to the year, hands down. We mentioned how DAZN, had the best first quarter. That March was awesome. Showtime, PBC's got the second quarter locked down. It's been, there's only been one good box card. We had an upset in that Harrison Perella fight, turned out to be better. Who was the co-feature on that? I can't remember now. But I know Vito got beat, so that was a better card than expected, but still on paper wasn't good. But Showtime's delivering, and they've got the second quarter already because let's be honest, June really there's not many good fights in June. I'm interested in Lomachenko against Nakatashi as a return fight. I like that fight. I like Pedraza Rodriguez. Both of those are ESPN fights. Is that ESPN Plus, that Lomachenko? I hope not. Jason Rosario against, why can't I think of his name? Lubin, Erickson Lubin. I really like that fight. That might be my favorite fight of June. And then Barrios against Gervonta because of the size and because Barrios is a legit quality top 10 140. But that wasn't the case, like he didn't have real power and he's a much bigger guy, I might not be all that interested. But the jump up in weight to me goes, okay, that could be a challenge, But to be honest with you, June is just like, because that, like June 19th, like the Showtime undercard on Charlo Montiel. There's some good fights there. There might be some other good undercards that I'm just forgetting right now, right? And I hope that's what we're going to get. One of the undercards, Badu Jack and, Jean Pascal rematch is going. But it's really not that good, and I don't think anything could overtake it unless maybe ESPN's fights just turned out, like just banged out the best triple header of the year, and then another one turned out to be awesome, or you know what I mean? But it's basically the second quarter. BBC, and especially Showtime, has definitely stepped up their game. But yeah, that about wraps it up for Showtime. And I saw Kevin Iole with his tweet. We're going to talk about that a little bit during the boxing Twitter segment, where we do go over great tweets. It's not just to diss people. We do retweets where you're like, yeah, dude, that's perfect. She said that right, or that was awesome, But yeah, we go after some fanboys with some funny stuff, but also media members, with these fanboy stuff. We go after them. One more quick little breakdown, then I'm going to go ahead and bring in John and see what his thoughts were. Haney probably only lost in the first 8 rounds. 1 round, the 4th, maybe 2. I didn't give him 2, but I'll give you 2, maybe, right? Now, the championship rounds, that was a whole different part. But I did like how Haney was busy, especially with his jab. Body work throughout it, Even second, third round, the fight was getting a little rough on the inside, so I kind of liked that because I wanted to see what Haney would do with that. He started landing nice left hooks as well. There's times where he moves his head and his feet really well. Good footwork and all that. Like in the third round, he started doing that more. And really, Linares, it seemed like he could only left-hand counter most of the time. Now he started landing more punches in general, right hands and whatnot. But the thing about so the first 8 rounds, 9 rounds, whatever, 8 rounds, I saw a lot to like out of Haney in this fight, right? But his defense was inconsistent, along with me. I think his footwork too. But when he goes to throw a punch, now of course when you throw a punch, you do leave yourself open to an extent, right? But you can throw a left hook or a jab or something, or try to get closer to your man to land something, and keep your right hand up high enough so you're not open for the left hook consistently. Or just get the fuck out of the way with your head movement, right? And he did that. I'm not saying he didn't do that at all, because he did. But it was inconsistent. And his defense, that's why I'm not ready to call him an elite fighter, because it's not just inconsistent, but he was getting hit with the same exact left hook, the counter left hook, so many times. And that's what bothered me. It was like, Dad, like, I can't call you elite if you can't get out of the way of the same punch. And I'm not sure. I mean, Linares is going to hit you with some good shots. And I'll say this. I did like how Haney, down the stretch, actually did go and pick up the pace. And I kind of felt like he was going to do that. But once that 9th round came around, Haney was even pressuring. If you look at his overall punch rate, it was high for him. But the uppercuts started landing like super flush, dude. And that 9th round, could he have stole it, right? Even in that, to close that round, it was a close round, the 9th round. It wasn't just the 10th round. 9th round was close. 10th round, Linares hurt him in literally the last second with a hard, I think it was a right hand. And Linares kind of gave him like a Olay, like, I'm guiding you to your corner. It was kind of funny. But he was hurt bad. Like, his legs were hurt bad. He was done. I shouldn't say done. That's stupid. But he was hurt. And he came out firing with left hooks and right hands and all that, short little right hands or whatever. Well, Linares, I didn't make that clear. Linares came out doing that. And you could tell that, I wouldn't say he went for it enough, but Haney was holding early at that point. And that's cool to hold early, right? When you're hurt still, hold whatever. I'm not going to sit here and rip somebody for that. But once you've recouped, why don't you just stick and move? Pot shot and move. Why don't you, like I mentioned earlier, do the Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia the last couple rounds? Now, I'm not saying I like watching that, but why don't you do, why not? That's what threw me off. That's what threw me off. I was really wondering about that. You know what I mean? That one threw me off, I got to say. So I don't get that part. I just don't get that part. That threw me off, where you're just like, dude, but why are you holding? Like, you're dipping into the pocket and holding. Then they break you up. Then you kind of drop your level and kind of almost looking like you're about to tackle them and then hold. and then hold. It's not like he's coming at you. Like I mentioned that before at the start of the show. It's not like he's all close to you and you just hold him on the ropes to burn some time. If you're not still hurt, you shouldn't be holding that excessively. Like, come forward holding. That's what it was. It was like, I don't know, man. That was really weird. And it's like either your corner, Bill Haney needs to not be the main corner. We know Davidson is in there. We know he gets pointers over the years from a lot of people. And so I think Bill Haney's done a good job at allowing, much like Porter's dad, maybe he needs to do more of this like Ken, where they spend full camps with people and maybe then Bill could just stand back. Maybe he's done that, and I just don't know that. I know they've done some of it, but I just don't know the extent with the detail. But maybe he shouldn't be the guy in the corner talking. Besides just, hey, like little side stuff, basically what Davidson was doing. So if you're going to have a new trainer, you might as well let them be the new trainer. And I'm not saying 100% Davidson is the be-all, end-all. Like, yeah, that's the guy you want. I don't know. He looked good in Taylor's corner, but Taylor, to me, just stuck to a game plan. And when he did that, he's pretty dangerous. But then again, who helped him stick to that game plan? So I don't know. To me, if you're not hurt, why are you holding that much? That one threw me off. It's like, dude. And then if you are hurt, wow, you're still hurt? Like, maybe your recoup skills aren't not skills, but your ability to recoup. Maybe there's an issue there. He didn't get dropped, but I liked what I saw in the fight for a tester. Like, okay, now let's see what Haney does in the future. Because he got tested down the stretch of that. And I saw some great things. I saw some, that's pretty good. Especially the jab, right? But I also saw that leaky defense getting hit with the same freaking punch. And then I really did not like his behavior down the stretch. Like I said, I don't think I finished that Carl Froch thought earlier. But remember when Darrell was reach out and touch someone bear hugging down the stretch of that fight? It was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you going that crazy with the hug? He wasn't even hurt at that time. Now, Froch is a bigger puncher. And let's be honest. So Linares has all these great knockouts or something. He's not the biggest puncher. They were trying to make him out to be like this murderous puncher. It's like, huh? Like, Linares is a very, very skillful offensive fighter that has really never beaten a top level guy. And I know I'm going to get some pushback because of the lineal championship, but once again, look at who the 1-3 matchup was against. Anthony Crolla, who's a very limited, fun fighter, shows a lot of heart. To me, that just, okay, that's cool, but it's kind of like Indongo in a sense. Yeah, he got lineal, but I like the Postal win a lot better, and even the Diaz win better than that one. That's just the one that put it all together. Anyway, I am interested to see, where Haney goes. If you let Eddie Hearn tell it, he says, I'm ready to give him the bag. I'm ready to drop the bag with Teofimo Lopez to get him on the zone. Maybe Bob will be like, screw it, Maybe we'll talk ESPN into it too. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring in a great boxing mind. We weren't able to do the show or have him on the show last week because life got in the way, but he's back for tonight. What's going on, John? How you doing, man?
Hey, Chris. Great to be here this week. Just enjoying listening thoughts on last week's fights.
Well, it's great to have you back, man. I always enjoy talking to you about boxing and whatnot. And obviously, your legal prowess has helped us through many a times already. Since we're on the topic, we all know the Showtime card was bomb and everything, but let's start with this Haney. Devin Haney, I think some of the stuff, you're always going to get some hate anyway, right, as a star prospect or whatever. He brings some of that on, obviously, we could think Angel Garcia and Bill Haney cut from the same cloth in a sense of why people don't like their sons. When you say stuff like I'm the reincarnation of Pretty Boy Floyd, it's like, nah, I don't think Pretty Boy would have ended the fight like that. But either way, through 8 rounds or so, there was a lot to like. But then down the stretch, I don't know. What'd you think of the overall performance, and then especially down the stretch where it seemed like he was excessively holding? Was it when his legs seemed to be back?
Well, I think you were pretty fair in evaluating it, Chris. And I think, in the last couple of days, we've seen thoughts on both sides. As you alluded to, you've got a faction, really old and young in terms of fans. It's not a particular age or anything, but just saying, well, Haney's only 22. You can't get on his case. What do you want? He won the fight. Linares is a veteran. How dare you people criticize these young fighters when they get rocked or they have a tough time? Then they'll pull out all-time greats. Pernell Whitaker had trouble in a fight one time, and Ali had trouble in a fight one time. And then you have the other faction pointing out Haney's flaws in the fight. And I think the way you got to really fairly look at it is, I think it's early enough for Haney that neither side is necessarily wrong. I mean, you can look at some things that you liked in there, like you were saying, but I think it's almost going too far the other way now. It's not unfair to criticize Haney or just evaluate him as a prospect. I mean, of course, on the other end of the spectrum, Haney's a legitimate pedigreed top contender already, who we're still calling his back, and he's got an alphabet belt, and you got a guy who's a sideshow like a Campbell Hatton, and you heard the same type of things. How dare you criticize this guy in his second fight? We've got the right to see. Well, look, we wouldn't be watching.
We're paying customers.
A lot of these fights, right? And we wouldn't be watching these fights a lot of the time unless we were evaluating these prospects, young fighters, young contenders. So it's not unfair to criticize Haney for a couple of these recent performances. And I kind of looked at it like you. I mean, what did I like? Well, what I liked was Linares came to fight, which surprised me a bit. He's getting up there in years, on the wrong side of the 35-year-old mark. And he came to fight. He was well prepared. So you always kind of take that into account. He didn't come to lay down. He's had problems taking shots in the past, but he was at least able to withstand, and he came to fight. And like you said, he has always been a good offensive fighter. So I think there was some points there for people who liked Linares over the years. I've had things I liked about him and some things I thought people were overrating him about. But, he had for himself at this age a good performance against Haney. So that is in Haney's favor. The guy came to fight who he was in with. And then, like you said, early in the fight, Haney was winning rounds. And around the 6th round, I saw a real conscious effort on Haney's part to be more aggressive and try to see if he could get him out of there. I did like that. The other final thing I guess I would say I liked is you're seeming to have some different views on this now after the fight and a couple days later. To me, there was never any doubt he was going to win the fight. I mean, I didn't think he was really hurt all that bad. Like you said, I mean, I think you were seeing it like I was. He started grabbing and then getting into the safety first type stuff. I'm with you. I think maybe he got stung a little bit, maybe just rocked a little bit. I don't think he was really in particularly serious trouble. I think he reverted to his safety first tendencies at that point, knowing he probably had enough rounds in the bag to win the fight. And that's maybe even what the corner was telling him. And that was not a good look going down the stretch. Now here, I think there's fair criticisms though. Very fair. I mean, watching that fight, I mean, he just didn't show any pop. I mean, Linares does not have a history of taking a good shot. I mean, that's just a fact. He was just recently stopped in one round by Pablo Cesar Cano. And, he got stopped by Lomachenko, who, as a lightweight is a good puncher, not a huge puncher. He's been stopped other times, and Haney just wasn't hurting the guy at all. And now let's look at some other fights. Yuriakis Gamboa in the previous fight, another guy not known for taking a good shot, didn't put any serious hurt on him. And I even go back a few years ago when he was still appearing on Showtime, and he fought Mason Menard, and he stopped Mason Menard with an accumulation in the final round. Didn't really particularly have him in trouble. It's just, Menard was way out of the fight and been taking some shots. But Mason Menard is another guy who's had good offensive skills over the years, but does not take a good shot. So, he's 22, but he turned pro when he was, 17. At this stage, not putting a lot of hurt on guys like Menard, Gamboa, Linares, problem. And then that goes to what else you said. If you're going to not have the pop, which I think now, he had a one-punch KO a few years back, but that's looking like the aberration now. He looks like a guy that's not going to have the pop. I think we can start saying that. And that was really evident against Linares. And that just – I thought that was really disturbing in terms of if you're a Haney fan. I mean, there was a big lack of pop there. And if you have that kind of lack of pop, I mean, that gets to what you were saying with the defense. I mean, the guy's good defensively. He was winning a lot of rounds in the fight easily, but is he a Pernell Whitaker? Is he a prime Floyd Mayweather, or even an older Floyd Mayweather, who is still tremendous defensively? And I understand these are high standards of all-time greats, but again, it's fair to evaluate the fighters, and especially when a guy doesn't show pop. So, to me now, especially because of those three fights I cited, and I'm going to keep citing those because I think it does make that case pretty strongly. If he's going to have that lack of pop, that defense is going to have to be really tight. And from a marketing standpoint, he's going to have to get something developed where people want to watch him anyway, because he's not going to have a particularly exciting style. So, I think there's some potential problems there. To me, again, we can't say for sure how it's all going to play out, and people like to get on Ryan Garcia too, but Ryan Garcia's got speed and power. Maybe his defense isn't quite as good as Haney, but him and Haney were amateur rivals. They both got amateur pedigree. It's not like Ryan Garcia can't box. And it's the same even for a guy like Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez. Those guys have offense and they can box. So I'm going to just say it. For me, Haney's behind those guys right now. A lot of people don't want to hear that now who are Haney fans, but, he's got a chance to change it. But, out of those big four, whatever you want to call them, at around that 135-pound level, I think Haney's fallen behind. Yeah, I know he just beat Gamboa and Linares. I still think he's fallen just a little bit behind.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that's what this is all about. Once you're at this range and in this range, and he wants to talk about his belt like it should be counted, and he's ready to take on everyone, and he's the boogeyman. So if he's the boogeyman, then I don't see the problem about judging him like he's not a little kid anymore, because he's not. You know what I mean? So I'd have to agree with you on that. Obviously, it was kind of funny seeing Ryan Garcia chime in, though. It's like, well, I mean, hey, like, you are supposed to be getting mentally healthy better. You're out there taking shots after. And, he got dropped too. So, I mean, yeah, that's a great fight, though, that I don't think is going to happen, unfortunately. But, the fact that Top Rank and Teofimo are not seeing eye to eye, that lends me something to maybe that's the best option there, because, he already took a big offer to get Teofimo in the purse bid, but maybe Eddie is right where he would just, in a sense, I guess maybe if they call it, they could call the, well, no, he's the franchise. What am I saying? There's no mandatory for the franchise. So I was going to say maybe they could call the mandatory or whatever, and it could go to purse bid. But I think that that's a possibility. I just don't know if that's next. But I do like where you rank them. I think that's fair. And, you know, as you said, too, there's plenty of time to maneuver that ranking, right? There's plenty of time. And I think there is plenty to work on. What do you think about his corner? We heard about Ben Davison coming in the corner, but John, he sure wasn't talking much. It was the Bill Haney show.
Yeah, you know, we know some of the top guys, let's face it, I mean, probably, you know, they get more money and, you know, they can only work with so many fighters. But, you know, I see some situations like a guy who's as touted as a Devin Haney, and with his situation, which is not that good right now, you know, with his dad and you know, Davison. I mean, Davison's still a young guy. I mean, he's making his name and he's starting to get well regarded, but you kind of want to see that track record over a long period of time, or maybe a little bit longer period of time, even though there's possible phenoms out there in training, just like in the ring itself. I don't know if that's the greatest situation yet. Like I said, I think he's fallen a little bit behind the other guys. I'm gonna, you know, we're a little over 2 weeks away, but provided he's in shape, you know, the weigh-ins do matter. Let's face it, a lot of times about at least getting some indication about conditioning. But let's assume that, you know, if Teofimo Lopez makes weight comfortably, I mean, I think he's going to annihilate Kambosos, and it's not that Kambosos is, you know, that formidable of an opponent, but when you got the capabilities like Teofimo Lopez, people might not be that anxious to get in with him after something like that happens, and he's already beaten Lomachenko, and you saw what he did to Comey. So, you know, there might be talk, but that's the way. If I'm going to project, I'm projecting. I'll say that one now because I feel pretty strongly about it. You know, I've seen Kambosos, and if Lopez is like let's say he weighs in, you know, first time under 135, and I think Kambosos is going out early. So
sure.
I don't know how anxious people are. You know, of course, if the money's right, these boxers, they're not afraid. They're going to get in with formidable competition. You know, that they know that's their job and their competitors. But I just don't know if people are going to be going out of their way to fight Lopez if he's going to do what I think he's going to do. And who knows? Maybe just because Top Rank can do that, and it is an intriguing fight. I mean, maybe there is a chance they'll end up putting him in with Taylor, but you know, we'll see. I'd like those four guys we mentioned that have fought at lightweight in recent times to square off, but we know the way boxing is in 2021. That doesn't mean we're going to get any of those fights, but I really would like to see those young guys face off. I think that would be a great thing and great for boxing, but I certainly can't predict that it's going to happen.
Yeah, because, I mean, how much more money are you really going to make fighting Crawford over fighting Teofimo anyway? Because, I don't know, I mean, you think, well, we already know the minimum. I know that Lopez has got his own ideas what his minimum is, but there is in contract minimums, and clearly Crawford's minimum's way more. So maybe that would work out a little better, and then they keep it in-house and all that. But, yeah, you're right about that. Like, even Haney and Garcia coming off knockdowns or getting hurt. It's like, yeah, do I really want to jump right in there with Teofimo? I'm not sure about that.
That's what that's the way I see this right now. Even
or maybe
though
the people around them. Yeah.
Right. I think it's going to be a we don't need that guy right now kind of thing.
Yeah, let's lick our wounds a little bit, and we're going to worry about growing our fighter and, you know, that type of thing. So, which, you know, it can pay off as long as you're improving and you're not taking big step backs in your opponents or whatever. That's the key. And that'll be the key for Devin Haney, like it is for a lot of young fighters. This is not a young fighter, but, man, it looks like he's a young fighter at 118 again. Nonito Donaire took out Nordine Ubali. You know, I thought Ubali snuck the first round. Not a bunch of clean shots landed. You know, he was actually, I had him winning like the first two minutes of that third round. But then I mean, it was over. That left hook is a thing of beauty. I know that's like a broken record. A lot of people have been saying that on Twitter. But what'd you think of Nonito Donaire's performance? And also, you know, his quest to try to be undisputed that could lead to another Rigondeaux fight, which would be crazy.
Yeah, this is one that, you know, full disclosure, I came around, but I came around late. Like, you know, in the week before this fight, which I did tweet it out, and I agree. We don't put up the losses, but I had to throw up a win because I did bet on the Donaire KO on this one, which was a plus 500. But the full disclosure is, I really wasn't a particular believer in this Donaire bantamweight comeback. You know, and I know he's had the performances that other people have been talking up, but I wasn't really a full believer, but I came around just before this fight. And, you know, I just thought, well, this guy, you know, he weighed in at like 117, you know, 6 or something like that. I'm like, man, this guy's, you know, a lot of fights in a row now. He's making bantamweight comfortably. He's got good size for that weight. And, you know, like, you know, there's no doubt he had the left hook still. I mean, I believe in that, but I was just thinking, I just still don't know about this. But then, you know, looking at his size, his power, his experience, and then, you know, Obali is decent. He was undefeated, but, you know, you got to read. I say this all the time, but this to me is one of those perfect examples, and to take nothing away from Donaire's great victory, but you got to throw these alphabet belts out the window, you know, and, you know, again, there's too many weight classes. So, I mean, I think if you had fewer weight classes and not all these belts, I mean, Obali was a contender, but, you know, 34 years old, he's only 5'3", and that's what got me as that fight got closer. I started saying, you know, Donaire, 38, fighting a bantamweight contender, but the guy he's fighting is 34 years old and 5'3". He might just be able to pull this off with the power. And that's what ended up happening, because even though his left hook is a thing of beauty, like you said, Chris, and as powerful as ever, the power being the last thing to go, he was throwing good right hands in this fight too. So, you know, it was impressive. I mean, just, you know, throwing a good power right hand along with his devastating left hook. And, you know, he the power played out early. And of course, you know, the only thing that maybe could have stopped him, I was saying, was Jack Reese, not because Donaire might not have gotten a break when he nailed Obali after the bell and dropped him, but that's the thing. Jack Reese was so discombobulated during that fight that I was thinking, my God, Donaire could be making this great 38-year-old run at bantamweight and have him lose because Jack Reese has got him DQ'd, or it goes to a crazy no contest or something like that. I mean, did you see Reese also? He yelled at Obali to go to the wrong corner when Obali.
Yeah, he's like, well, which is it, dude?
Didn't know where he was. He had to fight Jack Reese, sent him to the wrong corner, yelling at him to go to the wrong corner. The guy just been dropped. He was trying to go to the right corner. Reese sent him to the wrong corner. I mean, I think Jack Reese needs to just try to stay off camera for a while and let the fighters do the fighting.
Yeah, he's the DJ, not the rapper. Like, dude, just put the music on and let this guy do his thing. Like, come on, man. Like, oh man, this guy, dude. Yeah, but it is crazy. It took me a second. Once he started making 118, I thought, man, okay. And also his game plans for a while, John Donaire, like against Frampton, and it just seemed like he was always just looking for one punch. And it was like, dude, you're better than that, you know? And maybe he just feels more comfortable at this lighter weight class.
That's what he says, but I agree. The performance, you know, I'm not saying the way it played out. I mean, obviously, the way it played out was a factor, but I'm with you. You know, for the skills Donaire has, you know, look, come on, 122 is only 4 pounds north of 118. It really doesn't matter, no matter what people say. And he was in a life or death struggle with Cesar Juarez, you know, a few years
really
back.
rough. I mean, and he looked rough after it. You're like, oh, geez. And that's what made me thought for sure he's fading, you know?
Oh, I definitely thought he was done. I mean, I'm going to say that, and even the way it played out, and the bantamweight thing did turn out to matter. You've got to look at the facts in front of your face, and especially as life's gone on, I've learned that. I mean, you want to have your own strong opinions, but you got to adjust some too. And yes, it does appear that him going down to bantamweight did make some difference because he was fighting at featherweight. I mean, let's forget about the 122 thing. But he was up at featherweight fighting Frampton, Walters. But still, he lost to Magdaleno, got dominated at 122 pounds. Magdaleno just completely outboxed him. And Magdaleno's not a guy that uses his jab, but he still outboxed Donaire easily over 12. It is a remarkable comeback. I mean, I just kind of came to it just a little bit before this fight, kind of just in time. And then he pulled it off. So I'm with you now. You've got to adjust to what you see. A Rigondeaux fight is intriguing. And, now seeing what he did, even though Obali is not Inoue, and I thought Inoue did win that fight easy against Donaire, and he could have stopped him if it wasn't for poor refereeing in that fight. But still, I do have to be fair.
He probably should have. Once he turned the back, that should have been it.
It should have been it. But I do have to be fair to Donaire in the sense that, he was coming forward with purpose in that fight, and he was throwing hard shots. And there was just a couple of moments during the fight. That's the way I saw it. I thought some people made the entire fight more dramatic than it was. But there were a couple of moments in that fight legitimately where I agree, too, that, he was cranking up that left hook, and Inoue was not able to really back him up. He was able to keep moving forward and get Inoue backing up, which helped him. And he had some moments there where you're like, man, this guy's having some moments here against Inoue. So, it doesn't mean he's going to turn that one around, but it's not the craziest thing in the world either. If that was going to be on the table as well, I do like the scenario a lot that PBC's got set up. I mean, you have Rigondeaux now and Casimero, and the winner of that fight fighting Donaire, that's good. And then maybe you see if Donaire's the guy that comes through it all, or Rigondeaux, or because they're both in their later 30s, if they have enough left to fight Donaire, Inoue, and that fight could be made, that would be interesting. But PBC, like you and I have said, Chris, the WBSS thing is a little bit overrated in the sense that you really don't need an 8-man tournament with a bunch of guys that shouldn't be there and with the guys that should be there. I mean, these informal 4-man tournaments, when they really follow through on them, really are the best. Like there's an informal 4-person tournament here where you've got, Donaire just beat Obali, and then you're going to have Rigondeaux fighting, Casimero, and then the winners fight. I mean, that's good, and then you had an informal 3-man where you had, Neri fighting Figueroa, and then the winner's going to fight Fulton. I mean, and, Fulton had just fought Leo before that, almost like a 4-man thing. I mean, that's good. I mean, all the organization, all the promotional organizations doing that, I think would be the way to go. Just get your best 4 in a weight class and have the winners fight, and that provides you with some pretty good action.
Yep, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Let's talk about the 2 undercard fights. We'll start with Gary Antoine Russell, who looked pretty damn dominant against Santiago. A little mixture of brute force. I'm trying to get you out, but I'm going to move my head a little bit. I'm going to do some subtle movement. And then also what turned out to be a fun back-and-forth fight, Matias against Jukumbayev. What do you think of those 2 fights?
First, now, I'm like we talked about the Haney fight where I said, you could be on either side of the things, and I think it's fair. Now for me, Gary Antoine Russell put me on the upside. I noticed maybe I'm going a little farther than other people, and maybe even I heard you go earlier, Chris. But I think this dude, I mean, with amateur pedigree, a fighting family, the guy's 5'10" at 137 pounds, and like you said, wants to get you out of there and put some hurt on you, yet has skill. I think Gary Antoine Russell's ready to be a I think he's ready to be a threat pretty much right now. I'm going that far with him. I think when you've got guys that have skills, but then have that aggressive mentality and power, and they've got good physical size for their weight class, you can't ask for much more than that. Yeah, sure, when he's in with somebody else and people say, well, questions answered and stuff, but 14 fights, 14 KOs. Santiago, I think, is a good fighter. And like you said, not a legitimate top 10, 140-pound guy at this moment. But I would say this for Santiago, and this to me is where I think we want to make the comparison. In modern boxing, where the guys don't fight it just is a fact. They don't fight each other as much as they used to. I mean, Santiago's as good as the fighters on a lot of 140-pound resumes out there. I'm not saying the very top of the division, but I'm just saying other guys, some who would even consider contenders, it's not far off of that. I mean, one guy I've brought up because I don't like this alphabet mandatory stuff as justification for crummy fights. Talked about Kambosos. And then, Jack Catterall supposedly got to fight Josh Taylor next. They say, well, they can sell that in the UK and stuff. And Catterall is undefeated. But, Gary Antoine Russell would annihilate Catterall. I mean, now. Santiago's arguably as good as anybody Catterall's fought. So, when you look at some of these guys out there that some
That's
people would be
call,
considered
because I'm looking at the one right before Broner. Not to cut you off. Sorry about that, John. But
no problem.
I totally forgot about that Zagara fight or whatever too. I totally forgot he upset that unbeaten guy too. So you're right. He's right on that level, ready to go.
Yeah, I mean that's. I just think. Yeah, I think. They talk about the Broner fight. I mean, I don't think Broner, with his lack of volume, he's got nothing for Gary Antoine Russell at this stage, and he's got a very small physical size for 140 or 147 pounds. Broner. So I mean, Broner does have some good pop, but he would just have to land a one kind of Hail Mary shot on a Gary Antoine Russell. I don't think that's going to happen with Russell's size. So I don't need to see that. But I think Gary Antoine Russell ready for a 140-pound contender? Yes. I mean, I think he's ready right now. I don't need to see him blow away any no-hopers or Adrian Broner for that matter, even though some people might want to see that happen. But no, I'm ready to see him. I'm ready to see him step up and look. Certainly it wouldn't be a risk probably making sense for a Tank Davis, but I would certainly be more than ready to see Gary Antoine Russell in with the winner of Barrios and Tank Davis. I mean, PBC could make that fight. I'm not saying they're going to do it, or Davis would want to maybe take that fight, but maybe if Barrios wins, hey, I'd love to see that one. I mean, that would be a war. So, and so I'd like to see him in with a legit 140-pound contender type next. And then the Matias and Jukumbayev fight, what a war! Matias is just scary. He's just scary. This guy, if you can't stop him from moving forward, only one guy's been able to do it. And, not that big of a puncher, but he did in that fight. He really stood his ground with Matias and put hurt on him. And that was the difference. It was just enough to discourage him where he couldn't come on like that force. But, he's got KOs against three legitimately regarded undefeated fighters in his last, out of like his last 5 fights. I mean, the guy he's proven he's a legitimate 140-pound contender again. And this is just a guy that who would want to get in the ring with this guy right now? The way he's looking. I mean, if you can't discourage, and Jukumbayev tried to do it. I think Jukumbayev had the right strategy because he
did some plenty of work.
Yeah, I mean, because in other words, if you look at this guy, Matias, and you've seen this in some fights, I mean. He's quick. He's got a quick. I think people underrate he's got a quickness at that size and even with that aggression coming forward where he can cut the ring off on people. So in other words, it's not what you think with this guy. Like you can't go in and box this guy and just try to move. He hunts you down, and he'll just keep rushing right at you and cutting the ring off, throwing all those volleys of punches. It's in the only loss, it was you got to stand, and you can see that when you see him overrunning people. It's like you have to stand ground and hurt this guy. But the problem is what happened to Jukenbaev is if you stand ground and you can't hurt him enough and discourage him, you get the hell beat out of you. And that's why the fight had to be stopped. I mean, I think it was a good stoppage, by his corner. I mean, this guy just rains down, and the guy can punch. He's just raining power punches down on you. If you can't hold him off, you can't hurt him and hold him off. I mean, it's just round after round, and it's just not a good spot to be in for his opposition. So extremely impressive performance. To me, it made him a straight out 140-pound contender again. And I just can't see anybody being really anxious to get in the ring with him right now, because even if you're going to have the answer to solve his puzzle, putting some hurt on him, standing ground, I mean, you're going to be in a war and you're going to be taking shots from this guy. And it just doesn't look like a very enticing place to be.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't, man. And he's definitely, it's hard to say over the top stuff about him because of, a certain fight. But I mean, yeah, it's interesting, man. And I like that, he had some adversity and now he's back. And yeah, man, he's a handful. He is definitely a handful. No doubt about it. So overall, a really, really fun weekend. Is there any other items that you want to talk about? I mean, obviously, we have a fight card this weekend. The best fight, Jean Pascal and Badu Jack, is now not happening. Any other items that you can think of, or maybe I don't know your take totally on this Mayweather Logan Paul thing, but any other items you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, just one more item on the weekend. Was a good weekend of boxing. That Showtime card was excellent. But, I did also watch Quigley and Mosley Jr., and I've never thought Mosley Jr. had much talent. And, that's still coming out. But even though he got a win that I guess at this stage is the biggest win of his career, arguably, Jason Quigley was a guy I really liked on the very, very early on the way up. And then seemed like around when nothing particularly happened in that fight, but went the distance with De La Rosa. I thought a guy that he would have been capable of stopping, and then just seemed like the performances weren't that good. I had this one. I thought a draw could have been fair here. I'm not going to argue that Quigley got the win, but
sure,
even with the win, he's 30 now. I did want to mention, because he got the win, this guy just doesn't look like the same guy to me. I mean, if you look. Yeah, I know you can always say opposition, and there's some legitimacy to that, but this guy was showing, power and fast hands, very early on those early Golden Boy shows, and just even what he was doing, even against lower level opposition. Maybe he was a guy that was amateur a little too long or something, or who knows what else, but just saying that even this getting this win against Mosley Jr. and having to dig deep. And it was a reasonably entertaining fight, but, Mosley Jr. is just not that talented. And even in that fight, I just do want to say that I just don't see the Jason Quigley that I saw early on coming up. I just don't see the offensive skills there like they were. He gets hit. He doesn't look like he takes that great of a shot now. So I don't think that's going to lead to any momentum. That's why I wanted to throw that in there. But with the Paul stuff, I'm not one of these people that's saying don't have it or anything like that. And I've been consistent with that. I even said that when Eddie Hearn was throwing these guys on there. I said, hey, if it's bringing more viewers and the fight was entertaining, I mean, heck, that crazy Logan Paul KSI fight with, again, Jack Reese jumping in, messing things up. That wasn't entertaining. It was an entertaining fight, so I didn't care. I was like, hey, yeah, maybe these guys aren't that skilled, but it was entertaining. So I'm not against using these guys, and if it brings interest to boxing, especially the younger fans, hey, I'm fine with it. And Jake Paul, against who he's fought, has looked pretty good. I kind of like that Woodley fight. I mean, the odds are close. I think Jake Paul's onto something here where I think that as MMA has gone on and the UFC, that the stand-up game became such a big part of it, like it wasn't in the earlier days.
True, very true.
I think there's an insecurity among UFC and MMA fans, and I watch both, but among the hardcores for the MMA and the UFC in particular, that this is bothering them that, you know, Jake Paul blew away Askren, and now you might do it to Woodley. I think this is making these people flip their wigs, to use an old phrase. I mean, they're just blowing a gasket. And I think that, hey, that's a marketing thing that kind of works.
You can see it on Twitter, that's for sure.
Right. I mean, they're blowing a gasket. I kind of like it just because, right. I mean, you know, it is maybe a sore spot. If boxing, the stand-ups became such a big part of their sport, whether they want to admit it or not, and their guys, all right, it was just with Askren so far, but we're going to see with Woodley, you know, if their guys start getting knocked out by a novice and Jake Paul, who hasn't had an amateur career, I mean, you know, that does say a bit about the quality of the boxing within their stand-up. Now, maybe that's not going to happen, but it's definitely hit a sore spot. So not a bad marketing thing. You know, on the business side, you know, the naysayers were saying it, but there's some truth you got to look at. I mean, is Showtime going to be going to too many pay-per-views in, you know, a short period of time? I mean, you know, that is going to be a lot. You know, you got Wilder Fury 3. We got Pacquiao Spence. We got Jake Paul now and Woodley, and then just here in June we've got Tank and Barrios.
Right.
I mean, we are getting a lot of pay-per-views thrown out, and we've got Mayweather and you know, Logan Paul pay-per-view. Now, you and I are on the same page, and to some it's split hairs, but for me it matters. You know, and let's face it, some people will say, oh, the commission wouldn't sanction. The commission sanctions whatever they can make money in when it gets to the bigger name people. So what I'm getting to is, if Floyd Mayweather was really fighting Jake Paul in a fight, whatever people wanted, Logan Paul, whatever people want to say about it, and they're always going to be saying people, oh, it shouldn't happen, I won't watch it. Hey, if it's a real fight, sometimes it's intriguing from the even the freak show perspective. If it's a real fight, that I might put down some money and watch it, and I'll just admit it. But exhibition, I just can't see why I'm supposed to pay for that.
Supposed to be on just basic cable or like celebrity boxing,
Right.
like they did on Fox, that
Right.
did like 15 million people viewership and stuff. Like, it's not that I have anything against it. You know, I think that we're older, so we've already kind of run the gamut of maybe the first time we saw or heard something like this, we were like, what? But now it's just like, yeah, whatever, dude. It's boxing. Anything like this, you know, you don't have to buy it. You don't have to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to start a petition to boycott it, but I am boycotting it because I'm not buying it. But, you know, they're not really going for this market exactly, you know, the hardcore fight fan. Even though Triller is now trying to back up and say they are trying to go for the hardcore market because they didn't want to pay Jake Paul or Tyson money, that kind of tells you that they're fibbing about their pay-per-view numbers. If you're doing $1.8 million and you're not willing to give someone $10 million, that kind of and I know the musical acts cost, but it's only like 3 songs, so it's not like it's costing you $10 million per act or whatever. And they, you know, their monthly users, they've come out and admitted that they skewed the number up to like 50%. So it is what it is. But yeah, we'll see, you know, where that goes forward. You know, it is what it is. But I'll say Tyrone Woodley is a good name for what Jake Paul is trying to accomplish. And you're right, John. Dana White, you notice how he now he was talking a bunch of crap, putting up bets, saying this guy's going to – now he doesn't want anything to do with Jake Paul.
Right. Yeah, he won't give the other guys permission to fight him, you know,
right.
Some of his regular guys. Because God forbid if they ever did lose to him, and he knows that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean they actually would, but if they did, it's just too damaging, and that's why
good luck.
one reason Right. He's always had that in the contract. So, he won't release any of his bigger name prime guys to fight him. And but it's still going to drive him crazy if Jake Paul knocks Woodley out. Now, I'll see what the undercard is, but I might buy that. I mean, again, say what you will.
Yeah, I might
I'm
with my nieces or my nephews. I might do it as like a, hey, we can watch it together because you're into this type thing, and that's a potential. I just like that it's a step up in fight. I know he's past his prime or whatever, but I think this is a step up. I'll say that.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to write Triller off now. I mean, I agree with you, Chris. Maybe the numbers weren't, although it seemed like it did, right? Of course, seem doesn't mean you're seeing the numbers. You know what they are. But
even if it's 600 or 700,000, that's still a ton of numbers. I just never believed 1.5 to 2 million. That just never really rang true.
The way you're acting, the way they're acting, you may very well be right. But now I don't know what they're doing, because for me, again, and I'm a hardcore boxing, follower, reporter, commentator on the sport, but I found that Jake Paul Askren card with the musical acts and the crazy announcing and stuff, I found that an entertaining package on a whole. So I'm like, this is something different from my regular boxing card.
Right.
A separate thing, exactly. That's what
I appreciate that. It's like, that's entertainment. That's cool, Right.
But now what I'm saying is, as a hardcore boxing, follower, I don't get what they're trying to do now. Like, Lopez Kambosos is not a good fight. I mean, you're going to bring now they're bringing in Jim Lampley. So you're bringing in Jim Lampley. You're taking a fight that's not good, that's only happening because the IBF alphabet nonsense and Lopez taking a breather, and you're making us pay for it and putting Jim Lampley on there. Like,
it's everything wrong with boxing, It's like, this is what we're trying to not have. You guys said you bring something else,
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, Triller's putting together everything now that we don't want to have in boxing. I mean, just an overpriced event
mandatory.
That everybody, quote unquote, mandatory knows who's going to win. So I'm like, I literally don't get it. I mean, I just can't see why anybody's supposed to pay for that. Like you said, you can pay for what you want, and everybody's got their standards, or they want to be entertained that night. I mean, I love watching Teofimo Lopez, but I don't need to pay for an old time boxing card that's not good and see him blow out Kambosos. That and I said on the other end with the freak show type aspect, I don't see why I'm supposed to pay for Logan Paul and Mayweather in an exhibition. But I'm with you. Like I've said before too, my nieces also know the Pauls. I mean, my son's in his 20s. Of course, we watched that second Logan Paul KSI fight on DAZN that Jack Reese got the mix on together. So I mean, he knows some boxing, but he was interested in that. And like you said, hey, I could see, watching it with my nieces or my brother,
like
watching it with them or something. Yeah. But, when he fights Woodley, I mean, especially if they make the undercard entertaining or maybe just something entertaining about it, even from a putting on a show kind of perspective. I don't know if Showtime's going to do any of that or not. We'll see.
Right.
But I'll throw this out. I did tweet it once, but I am half serious, probably more than half serious. I mean, look, it ultimately comes down to the money and they're entertaining. How about I'll throw this scenario out before going for the future? I tweeted it once, but I'm serious about it. It's the world of boxing. What if Jake Paul knocks out Woodley, picks up another couple knockouts, and in the meantime, let's say Wilder he got his weight down, which I think he needs to do, and he came in at 220. He upset Fury.
Right.
And then you've got a 36 or a 37-year-old Deontay Wilder out there who wouldn't mind picking up a payday, and him and Jake Paul a show. Don't tell me that Jake Paul might not get a lineal heavyweight championship shot.
Right.
I mean, it's the world.
It would do big numbers, too, because there'd be a lot of people that go, this is the guy that's going to knock out Jake Paul. Yes, Yeah.
Right. You're going to have half the people are going to say, this is the guy that's going to decapitate Jake Paul.
Right.
Not literally. And then you're gonna have Jake Paul fans and a lot of the youngsters saying Jake Paul might be able to land a bomb and become heavyweight champion of the world.
Right.
I think he can do it.
God, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
But it's not that far-fetched, really, dude. You know? It's
that
really not
far-fetched.
that far-fetched. You're right.
I mean, Showtime's got them both. You know, Showtime's got them both. So, this is what people might want to think about without getting too far ahead. If, let's say, Jake Paul beats Tyron Woodley, then maybe you have another fight in there. Who would be the semi-credible boxing opponent? And, of course, semi-credible if they're going to have Jake Paul get in with him and beat him. You know, who would be like a semi-credible guy that you could throw Jake Paul in and maybe pick up a win to then have him fight? You know, again, Wilder would have to pull that upset off of Fury. He's going to be the underdog. But if he did, you know, that's what I'm going to maybe.
Even if he didn't,
I should have better things to do.
Even if he didn't, he could still fight him. You know.
Yeah.
Even if Fury didn't, you know, he lost to Fury.
Right, but I was just
don't
thinking.
know. That's a good question. Maybe Cunningham again because he was on that undercard. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
That's true. You know, he's an older guy, or then I was thinking.
And he's tall.
I'm not.
You know,
or maybe do you bring in like a? I'm not saying Jake Paul's going to get to this level, but if he did, like, you know, do you bring in one of those like, you know, Manuel Char.
Sure, right,
like
yeah, one of those guys, those nondescript guys, sure, right.
Yeah, one of those guys, or maybe an over the hill former cruiserweight contenders. Who knows? But I'm sure Jake Paul's going to have to worry about Tyron Woodley first. But you can think about the
Joey Ice.
scenarios.
I think we can bring Joey Ice back in. Minnesota kid, Joey Ice.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Before
you go, John, I got to say, your tweet made the Twitter segment, the tweet that you said, I want to see Spence and Pacquiao, the 1-3 Ring TV lineal, because we know how they've jumped in and done the 1-3s before. I mentioned that one earlier, Linares and Crolla, when they went around number 2, that guy, that Mikey.
Yep.
That was funny. I love that tweet.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to hear the announcement on that. And you know, because I've gone back, I used to be, and you know, I am on Transnational, which they only do the 1 and 2, and that's the way I always was. I was starting to let up a few years ago, right around when Ring was doing that. I thought, you know, we're having so much trouble, you know, really crowning lead champs in each division. Do we need to start doing that? But I've gone back to the original, where, you know. Yeah, Linares Crolla, Linares Crolla just doesn't do it, and you know, then they did it with Callum Smith, and they crowned him, and it starts getting too. And you know, Callum Smith, and you saw he did nothing with Canelo, so you know, it's just I think it's too watered down. I think Transnational's right, and your traditional lineal that went on throughout boxing history. I'm convinced now, after seeing a little bit of that with the Ring, that's one of the reasons why I made that tweet. The 1 versus 3 thing doesn't work. Right. It's got to be.
And that's why it's very facetious, because it's funny, because you know, one other thing is that business, the politics stopped that fight. Well, the politics are technically stopping that 1 against 2, so therefore it should be 1 against 3 of your rules. We think that's ridiculous, but it is funny what passes the smell test and what doesn't. Clearly Crawford and Spence would have to fight to create the lineal, but I did appreciate that tweet, my friend.
Yeah, I hope. I didn't hear anything. I haven't heard the Ring take their position on that yet. I'm sure somebody saw it, and it just shows you that it's not consistent. And then you have Crawford and Spencer here 1-2. So, you know, time for Ring to drop that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, buddy, you take it easy, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Chris. Great being with you as always. Take care.
Yep, have a good one. Yeah, it's funny. The second I brought that up, somebody messaged me saying, dude, you have to – I guess you didn't get the Crawford thing. I guess you didn't get what we were saying. They make up 1 against 3 when it bodes well for what they want. But if going off their description, go read 1 Against 3 with the Ring magazine, then you'll know what we're saying. Because it says if someone's injured and they've been out for a long time, right, you can make 1 Against 3. They say if it politically can't happen, like the one fighter doesn't want it or it politically can't happen, right? Because they did that. They were starting to do that for Kovalev Stevenson and all that. And there's other examples of this, and it was a joke. Of course, Spence, or if Pacquiao beats Spence, Crawford would have to fight someone in there to get the lineal. We're not saying that. That's the whole joke. That's the whole point of, well, it doesn't suit you guys well, but if you go off your rules, that fight isn't being made now. So why don't you make 1 Against 3, even though we think that's ridiculous? We're not telling them to. It's sarcasm. Go read the Ring rules. Go read them. 1 Against 3. They were about to do it with Gary Russell Jr., Warrington, and Zhu Kong. Now, Warrington did send Gary Russell Jr. a decent offer. They were about to do Zhu Kong, who's 3, and Warrington, and skip Gary Russell Jr. to create a lineal. That's what was about to happen. So, and obviously Warrington got knocked out. But it's sarcasm. We're not really saying that should be for lineal. Okay? Just take a couple deep breaths. Okay. Let's bring in Carcino for Life, who this is a big NBA night, so I know he's busy. What's going on, Carcino? How the hell are you, my friend?
Hey, man. It's super busy for me. I got my mom here. She's at my new house. Yeah, so my mom's here. She's cooking for me in the new house. Her best friend for like 50 years is here. My uncle is, hold on, just 1 minute. My uncle's on his way here, so hold on one second.
Yeah. I can smell the food. It smells so good. Mom's cooking. I can smell it, and I like it. Yeah, I knew he was having a busy night because it's NBA night, man. He's streaming live on Carcino for Life. And Lakers are playing in a couple of, 90 minutes or so, something like that. That's why I started a little bit earlier. And I'm getting some hate on this Mayweather stuff and Logan Paul stuff. It's like, dude.
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Okay. All right.
My
we're
uncle
back.
just pulled up to my house. But,
okay.
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy weekend. But Nonito done here, man. I almost cried watching him win.
Seriously?
38 years old, man. 38 years old. And I knew it, man. But to watch him have that bounce again, that was the thing that was missing from him, that athleticism.
Yup, and the strategic. He's out there strategic now, Carcino.
Yeah. So that was just great to see him have that bounce and accept again. What's up, nephew? Hey, what's up, Bob? Hey, what's up, buddy? What? Oh, the basketball game. The Brooklyn Nets and Boston are playing now. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll put it in the fridge. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
It's a family show. Say hi to the uncle for me.
Yeah. You didn't recognize your own brother? Yeah, so it's a big party on it. It's like a fight party.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I was very proud of Nonito because he set the tone. His experience was just too much. And from the first round, you see, he had the bounce in his step, the jabs, the feints. It was experience. Now, everybody wants him to fight a non-U, but a unification fight, that would be fireworks. Complete fireworks. Oh, thanks, huh? Oh, yeah, I got to do something, Got to spend a little money. So you work all the time, got to spend a little of it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm still waiting on furniture to get here. I've been here about a month now, a month and a half. Yeah, this is the master room. It's not that they still got to bring the bed. It's coming on the 17th.
Okay.
Yeah, down the street from you now. This is the bathroom.
Oh, this is great, man. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you're closer to me. It's the guest bathroom. Yeah, I know. Oh, she's in the guest room. It's the guest. Yeah, it's the guest room.
Photograph up.
Yeah. She can stay right in there. Just like the old cartoon. They'd be like, in the room for the mother-in-law. Yeah, this is going to be another
Hey,
bed
Cino,
in
if you
here.
want to spend some family time, it's all good, dude. No problem.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, I'm going to try to call back in before the show over.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good. Enjoy the family time.
All right, buddy.
All right, you take it easy.
Right. Yeah, this is going to be my office.
All right. Hey, it's a family business, right? Just like that Kanye song back when Kanye was pre-Kardashian Kanye. How's that line go? I love that Pusha T stuff. Okay, so I did say the prop bet stuff. We'll see if Portland's ready, but the prop bet stuff is how I'm going to break down this exhibition. Let me repeat, exhibition fight between Floyd Mayweather, 8-rounder on pay-per-view. Let's see here. Hold on. Dude, the hate is just look, like, it's okay. Like, is it a big deal that I don't, like, to me, man, this shit's funny. These fanboys, boy. Whoo-wee. I'm not discrediting anyone. Here I am talking in the message. I'm not here discrediting Logan Paul or Floyd Mayweather. But it is an exhibition, correct? Just like when I said it was 2-minute rounds with Tyson and Jones, 2-minute rounds exhibition. I mean, was Tyson going to the body well? Yeah, hell yeah. Did you see his face and his demeanor and how he spoke after the fight? Like, I'm so glad that was 2-minute rounds, dude. He didn't look like he was having too much fun in there. But it's okay. Entertainment's entertainment. This person now who is coming back at me on it, it's really funny because this person in particular, I don't know the name, like literally just dogged the Charlo car. But yet he's going to pay for this stuff. That's my biggest problem. Anyway, what will happen during the fight? These are prop bets, okay? Prop bets for this exhibition. And some of them are pretty fun and funny or whatever. Paul loses mouthpiece 2-1. So Paul literally getting his mouthpiece knocked out. It really doesn't matter. However, it comes out of your mouth. 2-1. Mayweather losing his mouthpiece 3-1. Paul delivers low blow 3-1. Mayweather delivering a low blow 5-1. Both fighters to be knocked down. Dude, both fighters knocked down is only a 6-1 for real? Wow, okay. It gets better though, guys. It gets better. We're talking about tooths and stuff. Either fighter be knocked unconscious 7-1. Either fighter admitted to the hospital after the fight 10-1. You could mess up your knee or your ankle and think you tore something and go get an X-ray and you could win a 10-1. I would do that if I were Jake Paul or Floyd. Jake Paul enter ring during a round of fight. What? Jake Paul enter. Oh God, I read that wrong. Jake Paul entering the ring 10-1. During the fight. Does it stop if it's an exhibition? Because it's still the same rules. Paul gets his tooth knocked out. That's a 28-1. Mayweather gets his tooth knocked out. That's 33-1. Paul bites Mayweather 50-1. Mayweather bites Paul 66-1. 10-1. Notice how that's only 10-1 for Jake Paul entering the ring during the round of the fight. That's so funny that I'm like, what do you mean he's going to be in the ring? And then I'm like, oh yeah, The brothers, they're brothers. Logan and Jake. I get them confused. Now I know Jake better, though, obviously, because he straight punches better. So which one is it? Paul getting his tooth knocked out 28-1. Could you put out a flyer? Jake Paul entering the ring during a round 10-1. Yeah, I mean, he's now let in. Hospital, the not unconscious thing, how do you judge that one? How can you know what I mean? I don't know about that one. You know what I mean? I don't know about that one. Okay, so that is my breakdown of the fight. I went through the prop bets. I'm going to go ahead and go out to Portland. There's 9 minutes left of the live stream. We will have a little bit of archive time as well. Probably won't go the full hour. Trying to shut this thing down before that big NBA game pops off tonight. The number to dial, though, 646-381-4990. So if you're in the browser right now, in 8 minutes and 34, 33, 32 seconds, that thing's going to shut down. We have the archive time. 646-381-4990 is the number to call. I'm pretty sure it says it right there in the browser, too. All right, let's go up to Portland 503 and see what's going on with him. Portland, man, what's going on, man?
Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero apretado y el brigón, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del gallón.
Yo, what up, Chris? Oh, I'm doing good today and here in hot-ass fucking Oregon, but everything's good. But how you doing, Chris? How's everything, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Temperature's really nice. It is about to be hot-ass Minnesota, though. Friday, high of 93, and the weekend, high of 95. So it's about to pop off. It's like,
nice.
Hey, here's July.
Yeah, hell yeah, right away, bro. Yeah, we got hit with 97 today, but I actually love this kind of weather, so I'm not really complaining, but it's fucking hot. And, but yeah, bro, let's get into it, bro. What a weekend we had. Shout out to Nonito first. I didn't get to see the fight. I did watch the highlights of that, but I know he won. So shout out to him, man. I was hoping for the upset, and shout out to him, and he did get it. So and everybody was saying the size difference was the factor, and I saw the highlights, so I'd kind of I need to go back and watch it fully, but he did look like the stronger puncher in there. So, but shout out to him, man. Nonito, reversed the clock and everything, and you know what I mean. And this is such a good moment for him too, man, because I felt so bad after the Rigondo fight, man, and that's one of the ones that it hurt because he really went downhill after that kind of, right. But this one, man. Shout out to Nonito, man. He did it. This one's nice. So shout out to the Filipinos, man. Where's the Filipinos at? I know they, bro, they're coming out now because Manny Pacquiao, Nonito, man, it's back. We're back to if you remember that era, Chris, the Filipino era. You know what I mean? You always heard that the Filipino,
Hesta,
bro.
like he's the next thing and everything. Yeah, I remember.
Bro, I love that, bro. It's so sick. So this is nice, bro. And because also Manny Pacquiao's got that huge fight with Spence, bro. So that's a big one. And if I could say real quick, man, I'm happy to be living in a time where we get to see Manny Pacquiao. If you remember, Chris, I used to always talk shit about Pacquiao back in the beginning, but man, I cannot like this guy anymore. I'm just like in love with this guy now because he is doing it for the legendary, status, you know what I mean? That fucking stamp on your fucking legacy, man. And dude, and bro, they're comparing right now. There's a lot of talk between Floyd and him, and man, Manny Pacquiao right now seems like on a crazy level. If he does become successful with the Spence, but that's for another talk. But also too, but I just want to shout out that, you know what I mean? The Filipinos are back, bro. And, that's pretty dope. And also shout out to, Jason Quigley, who was on the undercard against, Shane Mosley. I caught that, Viva Ireland at the end. I just want to mention that real fast. You know what I mean? That, you know what I mean? Cause I love to say Viva Mexico and him saying Viva Ireland at that, you know what I mean? We got that, man. And that was pretty sweet at the end. Cause then shout out to him, he got the win over Mosley. And also to the co-main, man. The co-main to the Linares Haney, Chantel Cameron versus Melissa Hernandez. Yo, dude, this is a good fight for the beginning for how it was. But I gotta say, bro, the referee completely shit on the result. I felt like Melissa could have kept going. She wasn't completely hurt, like where you like, oh my God, stop the fucking fight, throw in the towel. It wasn't like that. It was like she got hit with I think it was like a right hand or even maybe a jab. It was something straight, but then like she went back and then the referee completely just shitted on it and stopped the fight. And I don't think it merited for a stop. I thought, they should have let Melissa go out on her terms, right? And that didn't happen. But I just want to shout that out because no one's talking about that because that was
that's a good call.
Anything,
that's a good call. I did forget to mention that. That's a great call.
Yeah, bro, and 310. He always talks about conspiracy theories with fights and gambling and all that stuff. And this one kind of felt like that way because it was under 5 rounds, and I just felt like that's what it was, like a gambling thing. Like it was just she had to be done before the 5th. I think I don't know. I don't know the odds. I'm sure Chantel Cameron was a huge favorite coming into that fight, but
yeah, she was.
I don't know, but okay, and I just want to give Melissa Hernandez a props because she should have been able to finish on her terms if she was going to get knocked out or full distance, because in the middle of that 5th round in the 4th and 5th, she started getting her groove back, and then she started doing like really good head movement and picking up some steam there. So it was just a shitty ending. I kind of wanted to highlight that because that was definitely a stainer for the night that kind of went under the radar. But also too, man, let's get into it. The big main event. Jorge Linares, Devin Haney. I remember last week, Chris, I told you all I wanted was for Linares to come out 12 rounds healthy, man. And, I think I got my wish because, he got that 12 rounds. He went 12 rounds and fully. And if I could give him props, man, that at the 10th, bro, that 10th round, it was how beautiful was that to capture, you know what I mean? That like that little final seconds of the montage of punches he was throwing and how beautiful he caught him at the end. And, and then he saw that too. And, he kind of, if you saw him, he looked at him and Devin Haney was just like, he got the little rockly legs. And then, but then when that 11th round came up, man, holy crap, we knew something was wrong, man. And Devin Haney, holy crap, that round definitely went to Linares. And arguably, you could kind of give him a 10-8 round, in my opinion, just because Devin Haney held a lot, man, in that round and excessively. And I thought even a point should have been deducted in the 12th. But, Devin Haney did survive that. And, shout out to the kid because he knows what to do. He obviously does kind of fight like a veteran, even though he's so young, because that's a veteran move, being holding and shit. So, but he definitely was rocked, and then that 12th round, man, before I end that, in the 11th round where he kept holding, I just want to finish that. Linares should have kept hitting. He should have kept once he was just holding, just dig in there, man. Get tired. Just throw whatever you can. Just be dirty if you have to, bro. This guy is just coming, just holding, and he knows what to do in the ring. And but that's what he should have done. And guy just have an urgency to finish, just try to finish him, right? And but he didn't do that because he kind of almost gave him too much respect in that 11th round.
I agree.
For my liking. For my liking,
totally
because he should have tried to fucking just Brandon Rios him and just to try to do something, bro. Just fucking go at him, bro. Go at him, dude. Just fucking throw in the inside, throw uppercuts in the inside. Up, you know what I mean? That's what I was yelling at the TV, bro. Because it was so exciting. And then also the 12th round, I thought because I thought Devin Haney did kind of get his legs back in that round, but I just thought he should have finished way stronger. He kind of did. It was lackluster. He didn't impress me in that 12th. He should have finished like he started from 1st to 5th, I believe 1st to 6th, where he was just strong and showing his power and being slick and was getting and avoiding punches.
Or just go back to his jab. Stick and move. That's fine. Pot shot. That's cool. But the excessive I call it like come forward holding. You know, like he just kept going into the pocket and grabbing him. It's like
holding.
It's like he was a bulldog or something. It was just weird. It was like, dude, you're not still hurt, are you? Because it doesn't seem like it. Maybe he was still hurt.
It didn't seem like it.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a possibility. He could have still been hurt, and that's kind of like what I was thinking, because that to fight like that in the 12th round is very, you know what I mean? It's very questionable. I don't want to be too harsh on the kid, because this is just a growing experience. I'm sure he's going to learn from this, and he's going to grow bigger and learn from this. Right? He's going to get better from this. So I just don't. This is just a learning experience for him, is what I'm saying. And but yeah, that 12th round he should have finished way stronger. And because I get that 11th round, that that 11th round, I'm sure you were rocked. You know what I mean? And Linares did you pretty well, and you know what I mean. So but yeah, and as far as that, man, I just thought the fight was very exciting. It was definitely a fight that all fans should go back and watch, because it definitely had its moments, man. I mean, Linares. Having that kind of moment, it was badass, you know what I mean? Because that's what I wanted. And because I was there's no hiding it. I was rooting for Linares. That's my guy, my Latino hermano. I'm pulling for the guy. So you know what I mean. So he didn't get it done. But hey, he made it 12 rounds healthy. He did not get knocked out or even cut that badly. And also too, I don't know who was one of the commentators, probably Mannix. I'm not too familiar with the commentary team, but I think it was Mannix that said, "Oh, I'm surprised he's not cut by the 8th round," and he was he was looking pretty good. So I was just kind of proud of Linares for holding up, and being always in front of him too. You know what I mean? And showing the kid that this. You know what I mean? He still got it. You know what I mean? There was no quit in him. And that's what I love, because I didn't, I didn't want Linares to show like weakness, or like if he got maybe hurt to the body, to just go ahead and go home and quit. But he showed guts and true warrior spirit. So you know what I mean. He had like the guys, you know what I mean. He's got the Japanese warrior in him. He's got the Brazilian warrior in him, and the Venezuelan warrior in him, and you know what I mean, because I believe he was talking about. The leading to this fight, he was talking about how many languages he knows. I believe he said Portuguese and Japanese, English, and Spanish. So shout out to the kids, shout out to Linares. They did their thing. You know what I mean, and I can't be disappointed, because this is an excellent fight, a great fight to for a main event, you know what I mean? Because it was everybody saw that Devin Haney's last fight with Gamboa was a little bit, a little boring, but this one was definitely exciting. So, but as far as that, Chris, I don't have too much to say, bro. This is that all I can say is that that event was pretty nice. The event, the main event definitely lived up to the hype. I would tell the casual fans and the casual fans and MMA fans to go back and watch this one, because this one was definitely electrifying and stuff. So, but yeah, man, as far as that, I don't have too much to say. I know there's the circuses in town. I'm hoping Floyd Mayweather just finishes this dude quick. He is just a YouTuber. You know what I mean? I don't have too much respect because this is just a money grab. Floyd said it. This is a legalized bank robbery. So shout out to Floyd. Exactly. Get your money. Do your thing, bro. I'm not buying this one, but everybody else that is, just enjoy it. You know what I mean? But that's what it is, and hopefully it's not a phony fight, because it is titled an exhibition, so that's where I'm kind of leaning towards. It might be phony, so I don't know. But shout out to Floyd, shout out to the YouTuber, and thank you, Chris, for having me on Viva Rope Dope Radio and Viva Mexico, cabrones.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you making time to swing on through. I really don't know where, what the numbers are going to be on this one. I do know that I remember when they first, they had it on that, I forgot what the hell Famio, or I don't even remember what the goddamn thing was. But the app that is on, when they had it on the website and they said, I think it was like $39.99 or $49.99 for the first million, and then it would go to like a higher, I don't know if it was $59.99, and then that was going to be until the day of or something. and then the day of it was going to go higher. They had 3 price points, and I know, and this is just the information they give us. I don't know if it went by $1 million, but based off what they said, and I'm pointing that out, it had already gone over $1 million because by the time I checked back on that website just to see, and it had already turned to the other price. But they have 3 price points. One, if you order it by this date, it's going to be $39.99 or whatever. And then they moved it, and then I think the day of or whatever, maybe the week of, you were going to get charged, a higher price or whatever. So I don't, they obviously like what they saw, but they did bring in Showtime. So, take that for whatever it's worth. I really don't know what the numbers will be. But it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not sitting there hating on it. I've been a fan of Floyd Mayweather for quite some time. I've always, not gone out of my way, but I've always, like giving him the benefit of the doubt when it's there rather than just hating on him out of nowhere. And I'm a type of boxing fan that loves a variety of different styles. You know what I mean? So I don't need either just a come forward fighter or whatever. I've always respected Floyd, and I'd much rather have a retired fighter that's not in there fighting when he shouldn't be fighting anymore. To me, Manny Pacquiao, based off his last couple of performances, there's no reason for him. Well, there's reason to retire, of course, but it's not Muhammad Ali against Larry Holmes, where you got Larry Holmes crying, and looking at the ref like, dog, how much more do you want me to destroy this guy? Or even Rocky Marciano and Joe Louis. Joe Louis didn't need to be in that fight. So I'd much rather, if a fighter's retired, I'd much rather have them in this exhibition than out there taking punches over and over again when they're clearly spent. You know what I mean? Manny Pacquiao's clearly not spent. Broner wasn't going to be great competition for him, but he looked good. A spent Matisse knocked him. He knocked him out. An unbeaten guy who had gotten at least a camp in a fight against Jose Cito Lopez. And Thurman, undefeated. Hell of a fight. For me, that was the fight of the year. Or at least right up there with it. So it is what it is. It doesn't mean I have to contribute. I'm not hating. I know a lot of people, ever since these exhibitions have come up, a lot of people think I'm a hater over it. That's cool. If you think I'm hating because I don't want to watch I don't want to pay for an 8-round exhibition. Because like I said, I also admit that Jake Paul and Woodley actually intrigues me more because they're more equally matched, dude. It's not Floyd going against a YouTuber, And also, if I took out my nephews for get something to eat, go to a movie or whatever, that's just going to add up to $50 pretty easy anyway. They love the Paul. So, if I was up north where they live, which it always makes people laugh when I say up north from other parts of the country, because dude, you're in Minnesota. How much further? You talking Alaska? You talking Canada? What are you talking about up north? But that's the way we call it when you go out of town. It's up north, And if I was up there with them, I would watch it because you're hanging out with your nephews. So, yeah, that's different. But I'm just not going to do it, and that's okay. That's okay. If I happen to be hanging out or we plan something and I'm up there for that Jake Paul, Tyrone Woodley, I would buy that one or pitch in with them or whatever, because it's just different to me, But I haven't paid for any of these exhibitions and whatnot, and that's just my choice. Everybody has an entertainment. But the thing that's funny is I bring up the Charlo card. People dumped on the Charlo card and then turn around and say they're buying this shit and they love Triller, right? But then you see now that Jake Paul's with Showtime, all of a sudden, nah, dude, Jake Paul's a has-been, dude. Oh, is he? So just because they don't have two dudes slapping each other in the slap off, and they don't have music. Now you're not going to watch it. I thought you said it was all about entertaining fights, no matter what level. Well, I'd say this is a pretty entertaining fight if you thought those other ones were entertaining. So it's just funny how that works, you know. It's really funny how that works. Or dumping on certain cards and then, but this is entertaining, dude. But now isn't Triller? I think they still have J-Lo though, and they do still have the music acts. But it's just funny to me. It's like I realized there. Oh, this is what I was going to say. My timeline, like a lot of other boxing fans, when the WWE or whatever kind of wrestling is on, the shit's popping off, right? And I don't watch wrestling, but once again, it's entertainment. You know, I get it. I did watch it when I was younger, but those were pay-per-views too. So you got dudes out there that buy wrestling pay-per-views, but then dump on the Charlo card, a real fight. You know, so it's like, well, which one is it, dude? Which one are you all up in arms about? And that's crutch of the thing. And that's obviously your bias. You have a clear bias here, okay? You know what I mean? So, and Mayweather-McGregor was different than Logan Paul, obviously, dude. That's not even up for debate. That's easy, dude. You know? Anyway, enough of that. I actually did see some news lately. I'm going to go over some fight news and then boxing Twitter, and then we'll shut it down. If anybody that's on there wants to press 1 and join in, that's cool. If not, that's cool. A lot of people, I don't really see too many. Let's see. Well, there's a couple of that I don't recognize, but most people are just chilling. ESPN says it has signed Brian Custer as a Sports Center anchor and play-by-play announcer for its college football and college basketball programming. Custer will move to ESPN from Fox Sports in July. Now, he still will, in addition to his ESPN duties, Custer will continue his role as Showtime Championship Boxing. And I've seen him or heard him, you know, on several on the play-by-play. I've definitely heard him numerous times on that. Watching college basketball or football. So good for him. I always like him. His podcast is pretty good. I mean, sometimes he asks the same question like 4 different times, but he asks good questions in his way of, I don't know, the way he relates to the fighter, the openness he shares with them, or I don't know. I don't know what it is, but he does have a way of asking, you know, easy questions or repetitive questions, but also some really damn good questions. I'll give him that for sure. Eddie Hearn, this is on Boxing Social, he said he's declared that he will make a huge offer for Teofimo Lopez to fight Devin Haney. That would be great, you know, and I actually think there's a chance that would happen. Maybe not next, but I actually think that there's a chance that could happen. Maybe. There might be. And this is also Hearn from Keith Eidick. Hearn, this is the headline, we can pay Teofimo a lot more to face Haney than he'll make to fight Josh Taylor. He said, yeah, maybe, Hearn told a group of reporters Saturday night in reference to Lopez possibly boxing Taylor rather than Haney. But that's the problem with boxing. And he says Arum, the promoter, is doing that for the benefit of Top Rank in the network ESPN instead of the fighter. But again, if Teofimo won the fight, then there's nothing we can do about it. If it wanted that fight, then there's nothing we can do about it. But I think we can pay him a lot more to fight Devin Haney than they would pay him to fight Josh Taylor. But that is also an excellent fight. So if they made that fight, you really can't complain, which that's well said. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Some people are really big on this, on Woodley being the guy, because I know they had a little back and forth. For what it is, by the way, RIP to Keith Mullings, a former 154-pounder. He died, unfortunately, at age 53, Keith Mullings. So RIP to you. This is about Antoine Russell. Antoine Russell this is Shakur Stevenson on Twitter. Antoine Russell is a great fighter, and I sparred so many rounds with that killer. Some of the most dog rounds I've ever had and the most fun I've had in sparring in my life. So that tells you something, man. That definitely tells you something. All right, I think that's about. There's not a ton of fight news going on. Let's just go to boxing Twitter, the boxing Twitter segment. And we read great tweets, funny tweets, just some fanboy shit, that makes you laugh. And also when media members are acting like fanboys, or they'll be the ones that say, hey, you got to call it down the middle, but I'm going to get paid here, so I'm biased. We exploit those people in our boxing Twitter segment as well. This is Breadman Boxing. Boxing is the only sport where you can choose when testing will start, when testing will stop, or if there will be testing at all. And if you pop dirty, you can make up any excuse you want, get a slap on the wrist. I wonder why. Well, I mean, to be fair, all the other sports, the major sports, they have a union. You know what I mean? So there are times where athletes don't get tested in other sports, like effectively. And you get the heads up that a test is coming. And also nowadays with the PED scenario, if you're not in Olympic-style testing, 365, shouts out to Donaire years ago, if you're not in that, then all this stuff, it matters. It's nice to have VADA for 3 months, or during training camp. No doubt, it does. It's nice. But you can also just be in the off season, do your thing. Like AAA, they test way more intensely than they do on MLB. In the other sports too. I don't know. They get a slap on the wrist too. It just sometimes their season, like football, seems like more of a real thing because it'll be like 6 games, and it's only a 17-game season now. It's week by week, where some of the other leagues you only get 3 or 6 months or whatever. But the whole win and wear, at least they have unions though, So the whole win and wear got decided by the way by a union. So I hear what Breadman's saying, but there is some in between on that. I don't think he realizes that it's not Olympic style. Is it? Is there blood testing in a piss test? Yeah, but it's not year round. Like it is for the Olympics. I watch pro wrestling. Oh, here we go. I watch pro wrestling, so I'm not going to bag on Showtime is airing right now. Anyone who doesn't get that, this is showbiz, is missing the fun. I don't think it's fun, but I do agree. Like, who cares, Like, do your thing. Just don't buy it. I knew Nonito Donaire was a G when he fought a prime Rigo at a time when no other top fighter would. Facts. I don't live in a microwave world. That was considered a true big boy move at the time, and he handles his loss the same fashion he takes his wins. Always been class. That's for sure, dude. Because he's been up there with some bigger guys like that. And when you think Frampton, you don't think a bigger guy, but even at that weight, it just this is Michael Buffer. This is a perfect example of just bending over backwards. And this is not a crossroads fight he's talking about. This is before Jorge Linares and Devin Haney. This is not a crossroads fight. It's he says doubles up. It's one of the best complete fighters of the last 10 years. So you're telling me Jorge Linares is one of the most on a weekend where Nonito Donaire is fighting and looking complete, who was a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter, looked like he was going to maybe be number 1 if it wasn't for Andre Ward. I'm talking about post-Mayweather and all that. This is not a crossroads fight. It's one of the best complete offensive, I'll just help him, best complete. He's not a complete fighter if you lose all your big fights in the last 10 years versus one of the boxing's best young fighters. It's a must-see fight. I still think it was a must-see fight, but you don't have to bend over backwards. And Linares isn't in the Hall of Fame, guys. I don't care if he got lineal. Come on, guys. Really? This is actually Devin Haney here. I box for 12 rounds. They say I'm boring. I take no chances. I get knockout of the year. They say against nobody. I fight one of the hardest punchers in the lightweight division. Love Linares. Love him to death. The guy is very skilled offensively. Fancy footwork, flashy combos. You saw the counter. Dude is the shit offensively. But as a whole fighter, come on, dog. One of the hardest punchers at lightweight? Are you serious? Anyway, he says, I won 9 rounds and decided I want to try and go for the stoppage, and it's still something. Well, you're always going to get something, Devin. You're always going to get something. But when you put the pressure on yourself, you and your pops, Bill Haney, and I bring up the Angel Garcia because a lot of people didn't like Danny because of Angel Garcia, right? Now, some of it was the close decisions that he got too, right? It is what it is. Canelo goes through that too. But I never heard Danny Garcia. I didn't really hear Garcia ever say he's the second coming of Floyd Mayweather. So when you say stuff like that, guess what? Guess what, Devin? You're going to get some shit, man. But I did like how you did go for it. I did like that. I'm going to need Devin Haney and his fans to understand what people are saying. Nobody cares about Devin getting rocked. Everybody gets rocked. The troubling thing was that he didn't seem to recover from it 2 rounds later. Comprende, I mean? Oh, that is good, yeah. Yes, that's well put. That is well put. Most valid opinion, MBO uncensored. That's a good point. Maybe he, if you took 2 rounds to have you be okay, wow, really? Are you okay? I'm not sure. But that's a good point. Here's Devin Haney on Ryan Garcia, because Ryan Garcia came out and said, dude, I would have slept him, this, that, and the third, and he's talking shit about him. But, we're supposed to worry about his mental health, but then he comes out and talks a bunch of shit. So it is kind of funny. And if he wanted Linares so bad, he could have just fought him. Or if he wanted Devin so bad he could knock him out, he could have just fought him. Ryan Garcia is the true definition of a coward. A few weeks ago, he wanted sympathy because he was having mental health issues. This week, he's talking shit about me. It's funny how he came out after Javier Fortuna found another opponent. I mean, he's got a point there. He's definitely got a point there. Here's Kevin Aioli. This guy, wow. Have you dropped from being just wow, whatever. Showtime used to be a boxing network for hardcore fight fans, and now it's become a network for YouTube boxers. Shaking my head, hard pass. Why don't you just say a hard pass on not buying Mayweather Logan Paul? But to sit here and say, have you seen their last 3 cards? Have you seen their summer schedule? Showtime's the best network right now. We talked about that. DAZN had the first quarter on lock. Their March was the shit. But the PBC, the second and third quarter, just stop, dude. The second and third quarter, come on, dude. Like, this is silly. And someone actually just updated their tweet back at me on this one. Or their message, I should say. Look at the numbers, dude. Or not the numbers, but look at the fights, dude. Like, I tweeted this the other day. So clearly Showtime's got the second quarter because we could bring up some June fights. Some of them will be ESPN. Some of them will be Showtime. But the PBC in general, they got the second quarter. In the third quarter, dude, come on. Pacquiao Spence, Charlo Castaño, Rigo Casamor, Fulton Figueroa, maybe half of or fully Canelo Plant, half of Wilder Fury 3. Did you hear what I just said? This isn't being biased. I mean, I literally just had maybe a month or 2 ago, I had a long, lengthy segment about the Fox cards. What's up with the Fox cards? We still don't know what's up with the FS1 cards, right? Now, it does kind of tell me they're in the business if they just put up the Wilder Fury money, and then Pacquiao Spence money. We'll see what they got for us here. I've heard some rumors about their fights. Hopefully they're good. But I not only had a segment on my podcast, I do a weekly blog, basically. A lot of the times it's just prediction blogs. But there, that weekend I said, "Where's the beef? What's up with Fox?" And I went through all the different angles. So to sit here and now, so it's okay for all these media members to tweet all the different fights that DAZN has for this quarter. Remember how they closed with that fight season where they, if you look at the second and fourth quarter of 2019, DAZN was the shit, dude. It was, that was a great run. And you'd see media members, four different fights. This app is really paying off. Well, Showtime's app is paying off now too, but think about that. Pacquiao Spence, Charlo Castaño, Rigo Casimero, Fulton Figueroa, and then half a Wilder Fury 3. You can think whatever that. It's still a big event. And then quite possibly, Canelo Plant. They would at least have a PBC fighter in there. Come on, dude. So, yeah, he says that Showtime used to be a boxing network for hardcores. Well, who the fuck do you think's watching Showtime for boxing, dude? It is just the hardcores. But here's another thing he said, a couple of years ago about CM Punk, who we saw him, what happened to CM Punk when he got in the ring. Like him or not, CM Punk is a draw, UFC 225. Well, like it or not, Logan Paul's a fucking draw. Who cares? Just don't watch it, Golovkin has never won a lineal middleweight champion of the world. He spent his entire career in one division. Deal with it. That's true. That's true. Most people thought he won the first fight, though. I'll say that. That's for sure. Okay. Then we're gonna close on Montero, who's a repeat offender in this segment. Haney is privileged, dude. The amount of here, I'll just read it. Haney is privileged. Yep, I said it. Deal with it. He's deleted this tweet, by the way. Yep, I said deal with it. Real talk. There are legit veteran title holders making fraction of what Devin gets paid as a glorified prospect. I understand what he's saying there. The WBC knowingly fucked up 135 Undisputed to buy into the Haney business. Future opponents beware. To say they fucked up the Undisputed, so that means they fucked up the Undisputed with Canelo too, because Charlo was the mandatory and he got passed. Does that mean Charlo can beat Canelo? Like, some of this stuff is like, first of all, the amount of, there are a lot of fighters that are privileged right now with the money they're making, especially on DAZN, because they overpaid, as we know. So to sit there and single out, Haney's privileged, the amount of times I've seen Montero say a black fighter is privileged, it just gets so old, because it's like, yeah, as soon as they step out their fucking door, though, they're not so privileged in this world sometimes too. So let's that word privilege is something that he wants the attention with that. He says deal with it. Yeah, he's not the only one, dude. Like, how many people have been overpaid? Like, the other stuff I do agree with as far as, yeah, he makes more money than other title holders. Yeah, for sure. Now, he was fighting in Mexico as a 16-year-old, grinding his way up, got on Showtime. He got out there and got this deal. So there, you could talk about privilege. That's cool, but he also went there and got it, and it was given to him. Why don't you rip Eddie Hearn and DAZN for giving it to him then? But the WBC, on purpose messed this up to buy into Haney business. Haney business right now is not better than Teofimo or Loma business. So why would they buy into that? That doesn't even make sense. Future opponents beware. What's that even mean? But he deleted that. He deleted that text. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Whether you buy it or boycott it, do what the fuck you want to do. Isn't that kind of what America's supposed to be based on? right? Freedom of doing whatever the fuck you want. I mean, there's levels to it, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy the whatever happens this weekend. We'll be back next week. Peace.
Once you become the world champion, I believe that